If by chance you are dreaming right now, wake up! Welcome to Horror Nights! Welcome everybody to Horror Nights. We got a very special episode tonight coming to you live Sunday night. You know, I love to talk horror. You know, I talked horror all weekend last weekend when I was at Monster Mania. You know, just waiting in line, talking to other horror aficionados, I'll say. And tonight, the demon herself brought me one to talk to, and I heard nothing but great things about Gino Lyons. Welcome to Horror Nights.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fantastic. How about yourself?
Doing good, getting ready for another week and then another con at the end of the week. That's the beauty of it. I got two
same
cons
here.
this month.
Yeah, we'll be heading out to Horror Hound in Ohio, in Cincinnati, Ohio next weekend together. So that'll be really fun. We're not going together, but we'll both be there at the same time. We're going to hang out there. So
any big? Who are the headliners out there?
Robert Englund, Cassandra Peterson. Who else?
I got Matt Lillard and a bunch of the people from Scream, which are usually have insane lines at any of these cons.
Well, they're doing a 30-year anniversary.
Going to be there, and Tom Atkins, Nancy Loomis from the original Halloween. She doesn't do a lot of public appearances, and she lives on the West Coast, so kind of a big deal for her to come all the way out to.
That's
Ohio.
A good one. Yeah. No, we got Well, they just announced Robert Englund coming in Monster Mania, and to be honest, it was sold out within like seconds to VIP passes and stuff.
Absolutely. Impossible.
I learned a long time ago about Robert. It's better just to order from his website. Send him what you got. It comes in. You don't have to wait with the lines. You don't have to do all that. If you happen to be at a con with him there and you take a photo op or a pro photo, cool, but the lines are just obscene.
Insane.
Yeah, it's a rough one. It's like it's like meeting like Bruce too. Bruce is the same. Bruce Campbell. Any of these people.
I got lucky to meet Bruce Campbell at a comic con in Ohio, in Cleveland, Ohio. We have what's called Fan Expo, and he happened to be there, and I got to meet him with my little daughter at the time. She's very spooky. She scared Bruce Campbell. It's one of my favorite stories. We get in line, we get there. She's got her face painted to look like it's half ripped off. Most little girls want rainbows and kitty cats. She wants her face painted like it's half ripped off. So already we're setting the stage for how weird my kid is.
Yes.
And he's talking to her about how he can help her find the other half of her face. You know, he's Bruce Campbell. He's really good at this if she hasn't heard. She just stares at him. She doesn't speak a word. She doesn't smile. She just stares at him. And he goes, "Can she talk?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like,
"She chooses not."
Ooh, the kid's giving me the heebie-jeebies.
No, she can't talk. She uses her mind.
And then we go to walk away, and she's like, "Bye, Bruce." You know, but she wouldn't crack a smile on nothing for him. She gave him the heebie-jeebies. I was like, "That's impressive." Giving Bruce Campbell the heebie-jeebies at like 7. Yeah.
That you know you're gonna have a career in horror if that's the case. No, I mean, like I said, I'm going to Creature Feature out in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and it's a smaller convention. But I went to Creature Feature last November in a different part of Pennsylvania. And honestly, I was really impressed with the con itself because, while it was a smaller con, it had a good amount of guests. And on that one, they had, I'll praise them for their photo ops. Their photo ops are amazing. So, like, they have really good green screens and everybody's in character. So, like, it was like I did Chop Top and the Hitchhiker from Texas Chainsaw. Awesome. They were in character. I did Clint Howard from Ice Cream Man, and it was awesome. They brought in a real ice cream truck outside and had them all dressed up. And so, I was really impressed with this, so I decided to go back to this one. And we got some good people. I'm excited to meet some rarities. I'm not gonna know their names because I'm really bad with actresses and actors' names, but I know characters. You got the lead from the Japanese film Audition gonna be there.
Oh, nice.
which I'm looking forward to. That's kind of rare. You got all of the Trauma team basically going to be there, including
Nice.
Lloyd. Speaking of Halloween rarities, you got the what's his name there that played the little boy in '78. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's gonna be there, which I think will be fun. And then one of my personal favorite actors. I've just liked him over the years, from Reanimator all the way up into his, this movie Stream. He's gonna be there as well, and his photo op is awesome. They're already like doing this thing where they have the table removed so you can stick your head in there, like the guy from Reanimator.
All right.
Nice. Very cool.
I have to get a couple of my NECA figures signed anyway, so I'm just like, okay, we'll go and do it again. I met him last year at another con, and they did a different photo op. I met him and Barbara Crampton.
Barbara's great.
Yeah, she was good, and they did the whole they did the needles to my neck and stuff.
Nice.
But this one, like I said, I like the little cons just because you can get in there, and the lines you can move pretty fast. And you can go enjoy the vendors, because as much as I like all the guests and stuff, I love going through the vendors, looking at
I love VHS, that. That's my favorite part is
the videos.
The vendors. I love looking at all the little niche things they make. The dead animal things, the oddities, prosthetics that people make and that you can just buy, all of the really cool art, just everything there in a con is just amazing. It is a little slice of heaven.
The smaller cons are definitely in my opinion, you have a lot more fun. You can take everything in. It's not so overwhelming with so many people. You can go meet everyone. And then, Joe, check out all the vendors. Get yourself some physical media, rare posters, action figures, just like Zool said, obscure type of stuff.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I go after those NECA Classics ones. I eyed it, but I'll probably get it the next one. But they had the Reagan one where she's crawling down the stairs.
Got that one. That's a great figure.
Yeah.
I need to get that one. I actually just recently got and it's in pretty good shape. I'm gonna grab it actually. One of my favorites. I like the more rarer figures.
Versace's got toys too.
You gotta have toys.
You'd have to take the whole laptop to your toy room.
But I was able to get this Michael figure from the Cult Classics.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very cool.
And he's actually harder to find than David. You can get David for fairly cheap. You can get the David in the series for fairly cheap, but the Michael one was kind of harder in that series. And then I was supposed to meet him. He was supposed to come to a con last year, and then he canceled out. Hoping he comes to one of the ones this year, just because, like I said, I like to get the figure signed.
I met him a couple years back at Steel City Con. And real awesome dude. We ended up talking about Joe Bob Briggs because I was wearing a Last Drive-In shirt, and he was a big fan of Joe Bob. Needed to know Joe Bob was still doing the thing. And so that was just a lot of fun talking to him just about horror. He's a fan too. So definitely an awesome dude if you get a chance to meet him.
No, it is, and even like I said, I look forward to just seeing some of these guys multiple times, because the last time I saw Jeffrey Combs, me and him sat and talked for a good because his line wasn't that busy at the time. I was a little early on a Friday. We had time to talk about some of his other films. One of my favorite films that he's done is actually Would You Rather. He plays this sadistic kind of house dude. And it's a really good story with a really kind of fucked ending, and I like that. But he played a really good character in that. And so we got time to talk about it. So I look forward to seeing these guys again, sit and talk. And even when I went to the one last year, the cinematographer from Texas Chainsaw was there. John Duggan was there. They were just sitting there, and you could just pick their brains and talk. And everybody's really down to earth at the horror cons.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had some
very cool.
I've had some incidences where people are a little bit, I don't know, I was at the VIP party last what was it? Last week, yeah, last Friday. And it said it in there. It's like guests, and you might be able to take photos, whatever you want to do, and so forth. So, they had these two cakes. One was a Pennywise cake, one was the Monster Mania cake, and they had different celebrities coming out to cut the cake. They had, Dustin Faith, the stunt double that basically did a lot of the work, and the Derry show come out and do cut the Pennywise cake, and they had Edwin Furlong come out to cut the Monster Mania cake. Edwin comes out, he's cutting the cake, having a good time talking. Another fan walks in, hey, take a picture, cool. I said, hey, Edwin, how you doing? Cool. He's like, hey, what's up, man? Can I get a picture? Yeah, sure, definitely. I go pull out my phone like this. Boom, instantaneously, his booker comes in, pushes me out the way, kind of, gets in between us, and like he's not doing that himself, and just walks him out of the room. And I was just sitting there like, what the just happened?
Damn.
And I was like, and someone else was like, that's rude. And I'm like, you're telling me that's rude.
Wow.
And I used a movie quote. I was like, that dude's a bigger dick than Todd.
The only rude encounter I ever had was with Jason Mewes, unfortunately.
He looked rude.
I encountered him at a con. It was before there was a crowd, so there was nobody at his table. I also went over and talked to Jeff Anderson, and I walked over to talk to Jason Mewes for just a minute. First of all, he was in like dirty sweatpants with matted hair, and he looked like he was probably not doing well. But I talked to him for like 2 seconds, and he was like, I don't have time for this. I have a photo op. And I'm like,
all right, dude.
You also need a shower before a photo op.
You know what I heard, and I just noticed, like, the comedy people aren't as nice as the horror people. They just aren't. Yeah. Like, even Chevy Chase, I heard, is a freaking asshole to like me.
I fucking love Silent Bob and Jay, and so I was so disappointed. My soul was crushed.
I hear that a lot about
comedic because
actors.
What we see, you gotta remember, what we see on cinema are just characters. They're not the actual people. There's people behind these characters that some of them aren't so nice.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot about comedic actors. I don't know if it's the pressure of having to be funny, but a lot of them can be complete dicks. That's, I think, one of the reasons why today people still praise John Candy, because he was nothing but like nice to everyone. But like you hear so many about like you brought up Chevy Chase. I was at a con he was at. I didn't go meet him, but people were like, you go to get his autograph, and he wouldn't even like look up at you. Like you put the picture, he'd sign it.
I mean,
bring the next one, just sign it. And it's like, all right, man, a little eye contact. They ain't asking a lot. But
I mean, I was even at a con with like John Cusack, and I mean, he wasn't the rudest, but he wasn't the nicest either. Going for 100 an auto, 100 for a photo, and he was just quickly pushing people aside. It's like,
Yeah,
but for the most part, the people in the horror community, when you meet them, the guests, most of them are happy to be there, especially the 80s stars. I love meeting like the Return of the Living Dead people.
Oh yeah, Living Dead people are great. I got to do a cast photo op with them in Scarefest last October.
Yep.
Like Miguel Nunes came out to see me before and shook hands. Hey, thanks for coming to get the photo op. I appreciate it. And Doug Bradley, Pinhead, same thing. I got. He came up to make sure he shook my hand and thanked me. Tom Atkins, same thing. World class
great too.
Real gentleman.
I met Tom, and I did a photo op with him too. I did a Halloween 3 photo op, but I got to meet him earlier to have him sign my figures off, and he sat there and talked to me for a minute. Another gem. I didn't get the photo op, but I got everybody to sign a poster, but getting the Return of the Living Dead. I ended up doing the photo op for the Derry kids, though. It was a little expensive, I have to say, but I figured I'll probably never see all the kids from Derry again. And I honestly
get them all in one place like that.
Yeah,
and for being a spinoff show, I thought it was really well done. A lot of horror don't translate well to a show or spinoff
Stephen
series.
King translates beautifully to shows because just as we were talking earlier tonight, he doesn't know how to end a story. So it works well for a TV series.
His stuff probably works better for a series than it does a movie.
Well, most of his stuff, I hate to say it, for Stephen King, I think most of his movies that he made into movies became more about the actors and less about the story. Like The Shining, it's more about Jack Nicholson than any Shining.
Yeah.
You talk about The Shining,
that.
everybody's quoting Jack. Here's Johnny. You see the acts through the door get done in movies all the time.
But if you go to watch his TV series that he made later on, it was a totally different vibe to that. And same thing with the Doctor Sleep, which Stephen King actually liked that one. It was done very well in both instances.
Really well done.
I will say
it translates well to movies, but it's always abbreviated when you do a Stephen King translation to movie. It's so abbreviated.
Oh, it is, because it shows.
When they do a series, they're able to flesh it out better and really get into the meat and potatoes of the story the way Stephen King wrote it. And so, yeah, he does well for series. So, like when you're talking about the Derry Kids, that's Derry was well done because it is a series and it explores that Stephen King universe really well.
Yeah, it was able to show. I'm sorry, I was just reading comments. I know. I just like to read them sometimes, but in case there's anything worthwhile, sometimes it's worthwhile.
Sometimes.
Once in a while. No, but that's the thing about, the Stephen King. And I grew up watching Stephen King because a lot of his stuff that was on TV, I could get away with watching because it wasn't gory or bloody. Things like The Langoliers and other movies that were adapted of his that were made for TV. And even when I watched the first I didn't realize that it was actually, a TV thing. I thought it was just, a really long ass movie because I got it from the video store and it came in 2 VHSs. Only a few things came in 2 VHSs. That, WrestleMania 4,
yep,
and like a few other things. And so I just figured it was a long movie. But that's another one that I thought they did very well. Even the remakes of it were done very well, even though it has a lot more CGI. And I think we talked about that.
The original It terrifies me. The new It doesn't really scare me that much. And that's coming from a clown phobe. So like I said, Tim Curry did it just by facial structure and looks, and I think they absolutely
relied a lot
horrifying.
On the
absolutely terrifying as Pennywise. Yeah, you can't beat him.
But it's funny though, even though I've always been into horror like all my life growing up, I've only just started going to cons last year. I've always been into, like I said, different things. Like I said, horror's been one of my favorite genres to watch, but I didn't realize there was such as a fandom for it. I didn't realize it was an independent fandom. I didn't realize much about anything. I was kind of naive in things. I would see expos and cons, but I would see them for like comics and stuff. So I just figured it was for, like Marvel movies.
Oh, there's cons for everything. There's cons for furries. So there's cons for everything.
Back in 21, I got in really deep into independent wrestling in my area. So I started doing the whole wrestling scene. I met a lot of great people in that. And one of them, has made horror movies and was telling me about, you got to check out this con, got to check out this con, got to check out this con. And it's funny you mentioned Joe Bob Briggs there because he was actually the first celeb I met. I went to a meet and greet with him and what's her name there? Now I'm going to forget it.
Darcy?
Yeah. They were doing a watch-along live with Bubba Hotep and
neat.
Some high school girls filming. High school music film, I don't know. But I didn't stay for the second. I stayed for the Bubba Hotep, and he talked in the beginning, did, his signing after. It was really cool because I had only seen him on Shudder. Flicking late at night trying to find something to watch. And seeing him live in the flesh was like cool. And I never knew anything, like I said. Being so wrapped into wrestling, I kind of just delved into that. So I kind of shut everything else off for like 8 years. But meeting that was able to like get me into going to smaller conventions and then getting me to go to like video and film festivals and bigger cons and meeting more and kind of going after things. And then, it got me into wanting to talk with people. So then, well, how do I talk to people? I can't just sometimes go after big stars. So I had to, I kind of had to fish around. I went after a few of the Jasons that, played Jason, and we tried to make our schedules work, and it didn't yet. One of these days it will. And Warrington Gillette there, that played in two. One of these days you'll be on my show. But, I kind of fished around, and I realized I was kind of small. So I went to the underground market. I reached out to Fred Vogel, who did August Underground, and I actually was like, hey, I saw your films. I actually thought they were really interesting, and I invited him on my show. He wanted me to watch his new flick, which was The Final Interview, which was totally done different, something totally new. So I watched that, really into it, and then he came on and talked, and then from there I just started looking for independent filmmakers, people in the horror world. I got to talk to the guy that directed Baskin from Turkey, a few other notable names, but I like a lot of different kinds of films. I'm like, and you might be the same if you watch a lot of horror, like just the normal slasher kind of doesn't do it anymore, or the normal kind of just average horror. Sometimes you kind of look for something either more extreme or a little bit more art house or a little bit more different.
So what is your favorite kind of horror movie, Gino?
My favorite kind of horror movie. Well, I grew up in the 80s. So I love the 80s genre of horror, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, stuff like that.
So you got your classics there, and I think that's a great base. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, those are my go-tos. I'll go and watch them, but they're not necessarily what's going to keep me up at night or scare me.
I was going to say, I know Gino watches indie films. What is one of your favorite indie films? One of your favorite indie horror?
Well, it's not indie anymore, but I remember being on the GoFundMe page to get it made, and that was the original Terrifier.
Oh, yeah.
Before that was even anything. And I remember
You helped with that.
I donated. I got a Blu-ray. I still have that Blu-ray. And it was just all they really had on there was a picture of this clown. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't seen it, but doing a pretty popular kill that everyone knows from that. And I'm like, okay, this looks interesting. And I ended up getting the Blu-ray, and it was like, I had even forgotten about it. It seemed like it was a long time, and then it showed up, and I was like, "Oh wow, I hadn't seen anything like this." So it was probably Terrifier.
I think that
it became like the mainstream thing that it is now. Like you go into Spirit Halloween, and you got Art the Clown costumes for 6-year-olds.
6-year-olds.
No, they do, and they got them in Fortnite. He's all over the place. And the thing is though, I think it regenerated that genre, even though he's like supernatural and so forth. It regenerated that genre for a new people. Like for us, maybe it was Michael Myers, Jason, and Freddy. But
usually
for today's generation, it's like Art the Clown or Pennywise. Even it's something new, but it regenerated, got people back into the practical effects idea.
Yeah,
so a lot of stuff was getting CGI'd, and all of a sudden, we had Damon Leone come in with beautiful FX.
Very.
And then Michael Levy and Fuzz and the Lens hopped on 2 and 3 to produce, and that even went further with it. And then they put out their film Stream, which was great, I thought. I'm a big fan of that whole franchise just because they did kind of start with the lowest they could start and make it to the top without Hollywood's help. They had to go everywhere else. Nobody would touch the third film.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like when you go back and look at a lot of like the franchises, like, Friday the 13th started, as I recall, Sean Cunningham taking an ad, and I think it was Variety with just a full page that said Friday the 13th, the scariest movie ever made. And he had no script, no money, nothing. It's like, this is the scariest movie we ever made. And that's all I can tell you because that's all I have.
Because that's all I know.
And then they end up funding the movie, and of course it became huge. I believe Halloween was independent.
Halloween was an independent film.
And
that
now it's this huge franchise. So many of these films, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think they had like $150,000, I think is something like that, to film that.
All those movies were very low budget because, well, I mean, let's face it, at the time, horror wasn't a big seller. People didn't bring out the family to watch horror in droves.
No. It was always
and horror still wasn't
type stuff.
Horror made their money on VHS and aftermarket and stuff.
People wanted to watch it
never was released
in their own home.
Well, a lot of these movies, even they weren't allowed, or the kids weren't allowed. There's always an issue with the horror film. They're too violent. They're causing violence. It's like video games. There's always something you can blame it on. I get it now. I go into school, be like, there'll be an issue with my kids, and they'll be like, "Oh, you let them watch a horror, didn't you?" I'm like, "No,
and even if
not today.
Not today."
Today.
Did your kid bring a chainsaw to school again?
Show and tell.
Damn it.
But that's the thing. I mean, it's not my fault. The kid. I mean, YouTube is geared towards kids for horror any which way. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube that's made for kids that is made to be scary, whether it's in cartoon form. They've made games. They've done a lot of stuff. Things like Five Nights at Freddy's. Things like that.
There's spooky kids out there who need that. That's where we all started. We were kids. We were all kids that were watching horror, and that's where we all started. There's, it's not entirely age inappropriate. There's horror made for children that's definitely
what I and this is my rule of thumb, and I could be wrong, but because I've had a talk with my son about, and he's helped me with some film projects. The gore, the killing, the blood, all of this that you see on the screen is fake. Like pro wrestling, because I used to do some pro wrestling too. It's all fake. It's cinematic. It's to look good. And so I don't mind him watching the gore. I don't mind him watching that. I just kind of cut off when it gets to the sexuality, sex stuff, nakedness. Right. He's only 7. But if he sees some gore and shit, and like even things like Hellraiser, I'm just like, okay, that's fine, because
it's all fantasy. It's all
fantasy. And it's art at the end of the day. Somebody sat there to create this because it's not CGI. It's practical effect. There's an art to it.
Yeah.
Whether you're a Savini fan or whoever, somebody, left their craftsmanship behind in these movies.
Oh, that's a big thing. I can remember as a kid in the original Friday the 13th when Kevin Bacon gets the arrow when he's laying down through his neck. As a kid, I was like, how did they do that?
Yeah,
it was just mind-blowing to me. I'd go back and rewind it. How did they do that?
I remember when I was raising kids, we worked in a haunted house. Gino worked with us at the haunted house briefly at Regal Vineyards, and we would have, because I would make some of the props in the house, so there was even a time where we had intestines strewn across my kitchen table drying. And they were all bloody and wet, and they looked like wet intestines laying across and the kid brings home friends from school and is like, don't mind the intestines on the table. My mom works at a haunted house.
It was great last year because I did a whole bunch of I bought a bunch of cheap bones and stuff, and then I bought a whole bunch of different latexes and prosthetic, not prosthetic, but I'm almost like putties, and then I bought a bunch of fake blood and stuff, and I just made a bunch of gory kind of bones and skulls with half skin and tissue. And of course it would dry, but every morning due to the actual dew, it would get wet again. So in the morning when everybody walked to school, everything looked like it was fresh blooded kill. And then it was great because people would be like, what?
My favorite product is a product called PermaBlood because it stays shiny and wet looking. I love using that on everything. I just made a Carrie costume for Horror Hound that I'm excited to wear that has PermaBlood all down the wig and all down the front of the dress, and it looks like it's wet blood that if you touched it, it would be wet and sticky. It's
not,
but it looks
some of the kids were going over there and touching it, and I could see their fingerprint because it actually rubbed off. But no, I like that. I like seeing what's out there because there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's not. I mean, let's just face it. It's very.
When you go to cons, do you ever get dressed up?
I have not yet because when I do the photos, I figure I just be myself. But I have costumes. I have other stuff. It's most of the time I'm still in the stage of I'm trying to get people's autographs and running around like a madman.
Did you used to dress up when you went to cons?
I dressed up twice at cons. I'd met Ernie Hudson from Ghostbusters, and I wore full Ghostbuster suit, pack, trap, everything. Nice. And I just did Horror Realm in Pittsburgh, and they had a Silent Night, Deadly Night reunion. And they had the Santa from 1 and 2 and Tara Buckman, who played the mother, and they did a photo op in the Santa Claus costumes, and I brought a Santa Claus costume with an axe and took a picture
nice.
with them. So
That's
that was
sweet.
a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Those are the only 2 times I've ever dressed up at a con doing something.
I feel weird. Like, I feel weird. I mean, I don't mind walking around. I guess when I get more comfortable and I don't have to do a bunch of things, and like I can kind of just enjoy the con for the atmosphere rather than having to get guests. But I feel like it's weird if I'm going to go and take a photo with someone, I'm wearing a mask. It's like, well, that could be anybody.
I'm meeting Cassandra Peterson this weekend.
She's nice.
This next weekend. I can't wait. I'm so excited. And because I'm part of the Gorgeous Girls troupe, I'm expected to wear a costume, of course. So I think that I will probably be dressed as Elvira, because that's the closest thing I have to a Elvira costume. I'll be dressed as Morticia, which is the closest thing I have to an Elvira costume. Or
I will
if I can borrow the wig from somebody, I might be able to pull off an Elvira. That'll be fun, though. I'm excited. I can't wait to meet her.
No, she's very nice. I kind of got shafted, but she's a very nice person. Like,
how'd you get shafted?
Well, it wasn't her fault. So I met her last year at one of the horror conventions we went to. Where did we go? It was in it was TerraCon. And so TerraCon had a thing where you could actually pre-purchase autographs, which was really awesome because then you could plan for months kind of what you wanted to buy and get it paid for and not have to worry about, which I'm all about being ahead. So I was able to slowly, over the weeks, purchase everybody's autographs that I wanted up front. And then if I have to pay extra for, photos at the booth, you can always add on. And so I bought hers, and she was one of them. And when we got there, all of a sudden her handler was like, they're not accepting the pre-order ticket, so we don't know what we're going to do. We're going to end up having to at some point refund the customer, and they'll have to just come back in line and get the photo. We'll give them the money and they can come back in or get the because they paid for it.
Oh.
Okay. So I'm like, when should this happen? So I'm VIP. I'm trying to wait. They're like, well, come back in like an hour.
Sure.
So I got kind of busy. We went off and ate. I watched a couple of panels. I knew she was there until about, I think it was, I want to say 4 o'clock. Or no, she was there till, I want to say 4 o'clock. So it's like 3:40. So I go downstairs. I'm like, okay, end of the line. I have already the paid for. They should have it set by now. I can VIP express line it. Let me go. I get down there and they're packing up and ready, and they're leaving. And I'm just like, I go over there and like, what's going on? They're like, she's leaving. And I'm just like, but it's not time yet. And they're like, yeah, well, you can come back tomorrow. And I'm like, dude, I'm only here one day. I was supposed to meet Annabelle the next day and go to Maine. And so I was like, I'm not going to be around. And they were like, there's nothing we can do. She's already packed up. And then we had the tornado warning. So everybody got sheltered in place. And I ended up left. But, so I wouldn't say she shouted. I'd say it's more the handlers. And I think that's the general consensus of things. A lot of the times it's when they have these people that they're booking agents or whoever's working with them at the con, sometimes it's their rules over the actual stars.
Yeah. Because the star might not mind, honestly.
No, they don't. Like I said, Edwin Furlong was all for taking the photo with me. He didn't give a shit.
But they limit it because they got the handlers.
The other guy wants to make his $30
how much money they're losing out on by letting
because he makes $20.
Star just do what he wants.
Exactly. I mean, if they're at the booth and I take a photo and it's $60, the handler's making $20. So it's like, why is he going to let come back tomorrow?
Yeah. Yep.
So I didn't get the autograph. I didn't get to see her, but
bless your heart for being so mellow about it, because I think I might have been mad. I think I would have been mad about that.
There was nothing I could do. I mean, I told my friend, hey, if you're coming here tomorrow, because he did the panels, you can take my ticket and go get me the autograph. But and he didn't end up being able to do that, so I kind of just totally lost. But yeah, I mean, sometimes it's a bummer. It was more of a bummer just because I wanted to meet the person. I got to like I said, I talked to her. She was very nice. I was there. She wasn't packing up. They were packing up, and she was just kind of talking. She was like, "Oh, I can't." And I was like, I've already paid. You can just take anything on the table and literally sign it. Here's my ticket. And they just wouldn't scan it. And it's like, anything. Doesn't even matter. It could be any 8x10.
Anything at all. Sign a piece of notebook paper. I don't care.
But again, like I said, it wasn't her issue.
Yeah, I ran into a similar issue. Me and a buddy of mine, we went down to Joe Bob's Drive-In Jamboree down in Memphis, and we had gotten Joe Bob's autograph, and we were going to get Darcy's. And then, like, whoever, like, is working the security or whatever, the handlers said, oh, no, we're cutting the line off right here. No more autographs from Darcy. You can get her autograph at the drive-in. Okay, so no problem. We're going there. We go to the drive-in, all of a sudden, they're like, oh, wait, now it's like $60.
Oh.
And it was like, wait, that was included with the ticket. And they're like, oh, no, it's $60. And I'm like, I know what you're doing. You're pocketing that money. So I just said, screw it. I'll see Darcy at another con, which I did. And I had the poster from the convention, the drive-in jamboree. And she saw that Joe Bob signed it. And she's like, why didn't you get me to sign it there? And I told her the story, and she was shocked to hear that.
Yeah.
And I said, terrible. I figured that's what was going on. And I was like, I'll see her at another con somewhere. And then she happily signed the poster for me. But yeah I know how that can be.
It's a shame.
It is.
It doesn't happen often, but it shows you kind of the greed side of things. And it's like the kind of one side of anything you never want to see.
Yeah. People got to make their money, though. And these cons, that's what they're there for. They're there to make money.
Well, though it's in the word. It's called con. They're conning us.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking extra money. I know, like, I haven't been in it long, so I don't know pricing. But even from people that I know that have gone over, like, the last 10, 15 years, they used to spend like $20 to $40 like an actor, and now they're at like $100 a person.
Yeah. My first con was in 2012, and everybody that was there, like Gunnar Hansen, Marilyn Burns, Danielle Harris, Tyler Main, Elvira. Elvira was the most expensive at $25 for a picture and an autograph. Everybody else was $20. For a picture.
That's crazy, even for like Gunnar Hansen. Like, to think about that's a great deal. But
yeah,
I think
back then, back in 2012,
it's like, no way you're getting anything like that now.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
It was in the 80s.
Yeah, I think most cons. I think the average, like your photo op and a selfie combo, is going to be $50 to $60 on average.
Depending.
For those.
Yeah, between 60 and 100. It depends on who you got. 80.
Yeah, if you get somebody bigger, I think at Scarefest, like Robert Englund, I think it was like 120 or 140.
Yeah, I could see that, though.
And I know there was one guy that said he stood in line for 17 hours to meet Robert Englund, and he got cut off right at the end. Like, that's the end of it. 17 hours.
Well, that's because Robert sits and talks to every one of his fans, and they'll talk for as long as they want, and nobody cares until, people get cut down. I got to meet recently Gatton Matiazzo. He was in Stranger Things as Dustin, and his line was just blown through the roof at Monster Mania, but I had to skip the line pass. So I went in there on Saturday. I skipped into 7th place, and I just walked right in. And they were only allowing autos only, no photos at the table. You had to buy a photo op separate, which was like another $140. And that's what they're doing with the Robert Englund too when he's coming, but they're doing it even different. They cut the VIPs up to have regular VIP and then Robert Englund only VIP. Very limited few and only for like certain days. So everybody can maybe meet him, but nobody's guaranteed to meet him except VIP people. Because basically, you don't, because of like the photo op schedule and everything else, the time just flies.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if I would sit, like I said, 17, 18 hours in line to meet somebody. Like I said, at that point, I'll use their website service, send it in, have it sent back, have it authenticated. I'm happy to go. I don't need all that stress of sitting in line for a whole day.
Yeah.
Even the people for like Bruce Dickinson, they loved it. I did the photo op. I thought the photo would be cool. I was kind of disappointed though. You were just like standing there, like I'm just like you can't even like rock out or anything, nothing. I'm just like,
anything.
Damn it.
How many autographs do you think you have, Gino?
Oh God, I wouldn't even know how to guess. I probably have 200, maybe more.
Yeah,
If
and
going,
they
I
add up
started.
fast, right?
Yeah, I started going in 2012, and I go to, I don't know, probably 4 a year. And some of them are multiple autographs from people that I've met multiple times. But I mean, I have them on my wall. I have a photo album with them.
You've met Danielle Harris. She's one of your favorites.
My favorite
I
Scream
want to
Queen.
meet Danielle Harris.
You've met her how many times?
I've met Danielle probably 6, 8 times. Always a sweetheart every time I've ever met her.
I actually just picked up a Halloween 4 2-pack with, and it has her as like the little girl, and I want to get her to sign that. That's actually one of my favorite Halloween movies. Is 4.
Mine too.
I think that's great. But she's one of those actresses that I think made that movie, but also was great to see her cameo in like other Halloween movies as we went along.
Yeah,
I think she did some stuff in Rob's films and some of the others. Yeah, the people at cons, I think I'll always go and just like, I was talking to my buddy the other day that I'll always go and just say hi or go and get some. Like Linnea Quigley, I love meeting her. She's just super nice all the time. Even Math House there from, he was in Jason and then Return of the Living Dead. He's really nice too. Always just very personable. And these people, like, they do actually like kind of remember you in a way. It's sometimes because if you bring up like, oh, I saw you at this con, they'll be like, oh yeah, and they'll at least remember the con. And if you meet them like a bunch of times, they'll start to like kind of remember your face.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
The twins, aren't they familiar with you to where they just know you by name now?
Yeah, the Sasa sisters, and I only met them in person a couple of times, but I became friends with them on Facebook. And I'm not saying I'm friends with them, but they're always nice to me and always remember me. Same thing with Danielle; she always remembers me, and a lot of the people that I've met multiple times seem to remember me, which I'm flattered because I know they meet a lot of people. It's like I stuck out, and it seems like in a good way. They're not like, "Oh, it's you."
No, they didn't have security. They didn't have security pulling you away, so that's
right.
Security, that guy's back again.
I love the whole idea though of cons, and I'm super excited because of like being shown it, because I think it's a great way to meet other fans that. Let's face it, we love horror movies, but no one can go to like the movies and hang out. You go to the movie to see a movie. There's no place to really hang out.
I mean, you could hang out in the lobby, but it would be really weird.
Okay, you want to talk about pricey? Forget about photo ops. The popcorn will cost more than the photo op and signature combo.
Right.
Yeah, it's every time I go to a con, I feel like I always make a new friend. And like meet up on Facebook or something after that. It's like, hey man, it was good meeting you or whatever. And then,
do you ever watch any of the films at the cons?
I haven't seen many. The one that I remember seeing at a con was the remake of Maniac.
Okay.
I saw that one at Horror Hound probably, whenever it first came out, 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. They had a screening of that. And the original Maniac's like one of my favorite movies. So I was like, well, let me check out this remake and see what that's like. And I enjoyed the remake quite a bit. But that's
I love it.
I've watched a movie at a con, because I usually like to go, if I'm not getting an autograph, I like to go check out all the vendors, get more DVDs, Blu-rays, action figures.
I'm big into physical media too, and stuff. But I do like to watch some of the films. I like to see the independent, film festival films that they sometimes do, and I also like to do like the live watch-alongs. Like they had a Texas Chainsaw live watch-along with some of the original cast members.
Oh, that's great.
I saw also Trick or Treat, not the one with Mark. So Mark was at a convention of Monster Expo, so he came and kind of just popped in and out while the film was going on, talking about being a kid at the time and doing the different scenes, and then he did a question and answer right after the film, which was really cool. And then what else was it that I got to see? Well, last weekend they showed Friday the 13th 2, and they were doing like a midnight screening of like Children of the Corn, because Linda Hamilton was around.
I love.
Linda was hanging around there. I do wish I met her, but her line was kind of crazy, so I was like, eh. But yeah, like if I can find a film that they're showing with cast or with a question and answer or with somebody kind of like guiding it or part of the film, I'd rather do that. Sometimes if I just need a place to sit and chill,
We were
I'll go
just
into like
talking about
the movie
Donnie
room.
Darko. Somebody
I like
needs to
Donnie
do.
Darko.
Somebody needs to do a showing of Donnie Darko where the director explains what the fuck is going on.
I don't think he knows, man. I don't think Donnie knows. I don't think the director knew what was going on.
If anybody's out there who knows what the hell's going on in Donnie Darko,
well, I mean, I know what the
class.
film. I mean, that was one of my favorite films because I watched the movie. It was like, it was one of those movies I watched that I got from like, you know, you mentioned y'all worked at Blockbuster, as you know, Zul, I worked there too, and it was one of those movies that kind of popped out, and I was like, okay,
Blockbuster too.
I'm gonna take this home. It's a screener, and I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? And then it came out, and I'm like, okay, let me rent it again and see if I can understand it. And it's like, nope. And you know, they don't really have the commentaries back in the day like they do today. So it's like, you know, Blu-ray DVDs are coming out.
Watch
Okay,
it 4 or 5 times, try and figure it out.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, what happened again? How did that? Wait, what?
Back then, you didn't even have internet either, so it's like you can't even like get on like Reddit or on some message board where people are discussing it. You just kind of like have to figure.
Have to walk around,
okay,
for a week, going, "What did I just watch?"
Yeah, it's kind of like when Requiem for a Dream popped up. It was just
my god,
this is on, and like
that one fucked me up.
That one fucked me up. It was, but in a good way. It will make you not want to do drugs.
Definitely changed my opinion on doing drugs.
Yeah, like it's just the downfall of it, or even addiction. It's a great movie for addiction. It does what Megan is missing for like online fucking around. It does for like people fucking around with substance. And there's no good glorified ending. There's no Scarface ending. You're probably not going to go out in a gun blazing glory, and you're not going out with $1 million.
Heroin movie, but it's pretty.
Yeah, but a lot of movies they glorify the drugs and everything. People get rich, and people got nice swag and clothes, and yeah, the kids in that movie.
Trainspotting because it's so fucking weird. It's just
they made a little money in that movie, but you see how fast that money was taken away when they got robbed, and that's the reality of it. Most likely, you're gonna get robbed by a bigger fish. As soon as you make a name for yourself, somebody's coming after you, and it's not a good world to be in, and it's not fun. It's not going to end well.
No, yeah. That movie. All I can remember is the ending of it. Ass to ass.
Oh yeah.
Ass.
If you had the unrated version,
by the ending.
I had the director's unrated DVD, and so they didn't edit anything. It was just wild, and you just like again, it's 2001, so it's like. You're not really used to seeing that kind of stuff on a mainstream DVD release.
It was really messed up. I wasn't expecting
that. You know, it's not your typical family night at Blockbuster. Hey, take this home and watch it with the kids kind of recommendation.
Make it a Blockbuster night.
Yeah, no, not with that one.
Should have come with a warning on the label. I think it did.
It might have. I don't know. Because then when you played it, it had the dude from, at the time, I only knew him from the dude from Happy Gilmore. So I'm like, well, how bad can it be? I'm like, it's got to be a comedy. I've only seen him in comedy movies.
Somebody said they would like to see somebody do some documentation on the Mansfield Reformatory Blair Witch Project style. That would be cool. The Mansfield Reformatory is really dope. It is a really cool place. They did the movie in there. They did The Green Mile.
Is that yours? Is that your way?
Yeah, the Mansfield Reformatory is out our way. Yeah,
it's haunted. Still up and standing?
It's standing.
I had an uncle who did time there.
Solid structure. So beautiful building. Definitely haunted. Very spooky vibes inside. It's definitely a really cool building. They filmed The Green Mile in it. I think it was
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shawshank Redemption was the one that they filmed in there. I knew it was one of the Stephen King based.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Interesting. I don't know what a permit would cost. I guess that would have to be something that would be permitted out, right?
Probably. I know they do guided tours there, and I think they do stuff for Halloween there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you probably can get some. I'm sure they've gotten requests for it. What it would cost, who knows?
I mean,
It all depends what you're doing,
They
yeah.
filmed Shawshank there, so apparently they do lease it out for films.
Yeah, but Shawshank had a producer with a budget.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, you got a real movie studio coming in there. Yeah, they can do that. But if you're just
Yeah, if I go in
fan
there and I
or
say,
an
hey, I need to
independent
rent
person,
it
you
out
ain't
for
got
a
money
day, they're
like
gonna
that
be
to burn.
like,
no.
get lost, kid. Go home. Okay, go to the library. Film at the library.
Yeah.
What is your earliest horror movie memory, Gino? What is the youngest horror movie memory you have?
Well, it's kind of a fun story. I was very young. My birthday's in December, and it was on Christmas morning. So I would have just turned 7. I got up in the middle of the night on Christmas morning to get a drink of water, and I saw Santa Claus had come. So I had to let everybody in the house know that. So then everybody gets up, and everybody's like a zombie, and I'm opening up my stuff. That was like the first year of Ninja Turtles, so I had like all my Ninja Turtle toys.
Yeah.
And then they all went back to bed. They're like, go play with your toys. We're going to bed. So it's like 3:00 in the morning or something like that. I don't remember the exact time, but we had the movie channel. And I turned to the movie channel, and that's when I first saw Joe Bob Briggs in his original show, Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater.
So your first experience was Joe
and
Bob
he was
Briggs.
showing the original Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
That was like my gateway in. And then he was talking about other movies, and he had mentioned Texas Chainsaw Massacre and all these. And then when I started going to the video store, I started moseying my way towards the horror section. And the video store we had in this town, they used to have a thing for the older movies, 5 movies for 5 nights for $5.
Oh, good deal.
So I would go to the horror section and get like the most obscene titles or like blood and guts or whatever was on it or whatever I had heard of.
You go for the pictures, man. The pictures are what sold them.
It's all I knew. I was like, okay, this looks messed up. I'm taking that one home. And then that's how I kind of worked in. But yeah, my first horror movie,
was a Christmas experience.
would have been Christmas of '87, watching Joe Bob's Drive-In Theater, pre-Monster Vision. So you're going way back.
That's crazy.
No, I get that. I've heard people say, I remember when they were at him, some people had some like old like memorabilia from his original show getting it signed. Like I said, I knew him from Shudder. My horror, like I said, started at a backstage video where I'd walk down to them, they would rent VHS videos, and my dad would get horror films all the time, and he let the guy let me get horror films. He told him, I can rent anything as long as I'm not going behind the other doors. And so
as long as you don't go behind the sticky doors.
Yeah, they had those back then at the little Blockbuster. We didn't have that kind of stuff. Hollywood, nothing like that. Of course, when I worked at these places, we didn't have things like that. But these other places, they had them. The mom and pop places had them.
Oh, definitely.
But this place had all the horror films. And like yourself, I'd see titles like Texas Chainsaw 2. I would see things like Paint Me Blood Red. I love the cover, so I'd buy it. One I actually just re-picked up, and I found a DVD company that makes like VHS bootlegs. Like they take VHS and just throw them to DVD. So I bought this movie called Ghost Town, but I actually bought it on rented on VHS because I like the cover.
I remember the cover. That was a good one.
Yeah. And so I would do it by the cover, and I would rent these things and start to see them. And as I got older, I would start to get into the whole, being able to actually, buy them and collect for them, because then now things started to have collector editions and anniversary editions and new movies were coming out. Rob Zombie's Halloween started to pop, and even before that, I really liked his House of a Thousand Corpses. I thought that was one of his greatest films. So
love that movie.
Great movie.
That whole vibe, I think that's where his real gold was. And so with that, like, I really fell for that. So it really got me into kind of like into a whole horror kind of scene for like a while. In the 2006s through 10s and 11s, we just would binge watch horror
Rosemary's
because
Baby and
Netflix had just kind of came out, and in the early Netflix days, I was telling the guy the other day, like, the early Netflix days would allow online viewing, but first of all, it was only from a computer, and B, like 90% of it was trauma videos. They were like, you could watch Poultrygeist and stuff, but they weren't good films, but it was a lot of B horror. So we ran through the horror films. And then, you had the Texas remake come out. You had things like one of my favorites is the Hills Have Eyes remake. I thought was really
that's
done.
a good one.
Somebody in the comments said The Descent, and The Descent was great.
It is.
That was
that's an underrated film. Movie. Not enough people talk about The
Descent. Yes.
No, so a lot of good horror started to come up, and I got into it. And then, like I said, I kind of took a break with the wrestling, got out of horror, and it's been just kind of back and forth. But both are huge passions.
I grew up on horror. My grandmother was a huge horror fan, so I remember being real small and watching it, and other horror movies. She loved horror movies, and she would just let me watch them. And just like you said, she would just teach me that it's all make believe. It's pretendsies. So,
see, not my dad. He would scare me and tell me like Michael Myers gonna get me later on. I'd be up all night scared shitless like that there's some killer out there.
I told my kids Gino was gonna get them.
They probably weren't scared, but were they?
Lucky is I didn't hit any of the demos. I didn't grow up on an Elm Street. I wasn't a babysitter. I wasn't a babysitter. I wasn't a female girl. Like I was good. I was safe.
There was a time my kid one time stole from Blockbuster Video. She stole bubble tape. She hid it under her shirt. We get in the car, and I see her pulling this bubble tape out through the hood of her shirt. She's chewing on bubble tape. I'm, what did you do? So I take her back inside, and I take her to Gino, and I set her on the counter, and I'm like, she stole. You can have her. Gino just leaned in and like did his deepest Gino. We don't fucking steal that. And she was like, okay.
Well, I have to say, Gino, I mean, we're almost out of time, and I feel like we barely got to talk. What I'd like to do is I'd like to invite you on again, maybe in like a week or so.
Absolutely.
After you go to Horror Hound and after I go to my con, and let's all reconnect again, and let's talk again about the con and see what we did and what we met and what we picked up, what we
collected.
the
two of you would click. I knew you had to meet because I was like, there is this dude you need to meet. You need to meet Gino. And we didn't even get to touch on things like his toy room. Like,
oh yeah, we're gonna get into all. Like I said, we can't do it all in an hour. We can't talk figures and collectibles all in an hour. But my goodness, even the wrestling figures, we haven't even started on that.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
He's got
a lot of bins of those.
A whole host of wrestling figures. The whole WWE and then some.
Oh yeah, and then you got the AEW figures, and then there's WCW Galoobs, and there's all sorts of things you can get into. Wrestling figures are probably my first toy collection because the horror figures back in the day weren't really up to par as they are today.
No, you didn't really have them produced. I think I started with the LJNs, the big rubber. I had Hogan and the Junkyard Dog and those guys.
Big rubber Hulk Hogan. I also had a little Swamp Thing, little green Swamp Thing guy. But he was real little. He was like a 6-inch figure, like tiny little guy.
Oh yeah.
I remember him. He was one of my favorite toys. I wonder whatever happened to him.
Probably worth a fortune.
Probably is.
Well, like I said, I'd love to have you come back. We can set up a time. We can talk about these upcoming conventions. And I'd love to see what we all get and what we bring and what we get.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Let's reconvene after conventions.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you for coming on, like I said. And thank you, Zoe, for connecting. Because, I love to meet.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I just knew you two had to meet in some way or another because I was like, these two are destined to like talk horror movies forever. So
Definitely.
Awesome.
Definitely. Well,
good to see you.
Thank you, everybody at home, for this special episode Sunday. If you're out there in the area, definitely check out Horror Hound, check out Creature Feature, check out some of the cons in your local area. Check out the conventions because it is a place to meet like-minded folk, buy horror fandom, support horror, and honestly be part of the show. It's a great time. Check it all out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And as always, stay spooky.
Good night. Stay creepy.